This is the setup video for section 5.1, problem number 5. A pipeline for transporting oil will connect 2 points, A and B, that are 3 miles apart on opposite banks of a straight river 1 mile wide. Part of the pipeline will run underwater from A to C on the opposite bank, and then above ground from C to B. If the cost per mile of running the pipeline underwater is 4 times the cost of running it above ground, find the location of C that will minimize the cost. Disregard the slope of the riverbed. All right, so you're given a picture here, which could be half of your issue setting up if you weren't given a picture. All right, but what we want to do is we want to think about what would the cost be. So how would we figure out the cost? Well, remember, cost, once again, would be the distance over water over land multiplied by the cost per mile. And so remember, distance would be measured in miles. So divided by miles is going to give us cost overall. All right, so what are we going to do to find cost? Well, we're going to take the distance that we would have to travel underwater. So from A to C, that distance is always going to be the square root of 1 plus x squared. All right, now remember, if we go straight across the river, well, then that means x is 0. So we're just going 1 mile across. Okay. Or if we go straight from A to B, right, that would mean what? That x is actually the square root of 8, right? And so 1 plus square root of 8 squared, that would be 1 plus 8, which is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. So yes, of course, the distance from A to B is 3. Okay, now we would not go past B, right? And we wouldn't go to the left of this point over here, right? So what does that mean? That means that x is really has a value between 0 and root 8. Now, this is important to understand. You know that it's not going to be outside of that because, of course, you'd be going a longer distance than necessary, all right? All right, but anyway, all right, let's keep moving. All right, so the square root of 1 plus x squared is the cost of going underwater times the cost per mile. Well, it says the cost per mile of running pipeline underwater is 4 times the cost of running it above ground. All right, so I'm just going to write 4C sub G, right, which would be the cost of going over ground. All right, and then I'm going to add to it the distance over land. So now, once I get from A to C, wherever C happens to be, then I have to travel root 8 minus x. So root 8 minus x would be the distance over land and then multiplied by the cost of going over land. Well, that would just be C sub G. Now, I understand that when people look at this, they're going to think, I don't know C sub G, so that causes a problem. But the fact is that once you take the derivatives, the C sub G ends up being irrelevant. All right? And so you have a function for cost that only has one variable. Remember, C sub G is a fixed cost. It is a constant. So then you can go ahead and minimize the cost function. But I do recommend that because this function is on a closed interval, you use the critical number test.